Good evening, everybody. Sorry. It is a late, well, when I say it's late, it's only 10 past 10, and I've been staying up till about 3 most nights, mornings, whatever you want to call them, mornings, just because when I do go up, I'm in pain and stuff, and I just don't sleep. I get that 2 hours and that's it. Now, I don't know if to hashtag, because I don't want to insult if I do, but I have been watching the raccoon quite a lot. I don't think he's aware, and I have been watching him for quite a while now, and Dave either watches or listens. Do I find some of the commentary funny? Yes, and I do laugh, and so does he. Oh, excuse me. But also the raccoon can do the editing, etc., and all things like that. Whereas me, oh God, whereas me, I have no clue. Now the person in the house what does have a clue is Zane, aka Troy. He wanted to be called Zane. Thank God I didn't go ahead with Depot, because he's indecisive now. Yeah, it's one of them scenarios with a teenager. Now, he is very glued, whatever the word is anyway, on how to edit, how to do things. Believe you me, as a smart kid when it comes to computer. And I thought the subject I'm going to approach, I wouldn't have got him to do it because... No, I just wouldn't have got him to do it. Simple as... it's just that simple. He wouldn't have needed to hear me saying things and, you know, speaking about it when he were... You know, if I'd have got some pictures and stuff and put them in there, that wouldn't have been appropriate for him. So there is some other vlogs I want to do, and this is going to go back a fair few weeks and stuff. But like I say, I've been watching the raccoon. If you know who the raccoon is, he used to be called something else. And we'd be in there having laughs and stuff. And then we did have a massive falling out. And and I was putting things out there about this said person. Anyway, so I've just watched... I've not watched it all, and I will continue. I've just watched the part where he's speaking about... Oh, God, I've even forgotten the family. Eight passengers or something, or 8 kids, or whatever the names are. I won't mind, I've just been watching it, and I can't even remember the blooming name of the what's the word? Family name. Eight family? Eight kids and whatever it's called. I've never seen them. I've never seen them before. I've never come across them. I've never watched them until I saw Raccoon had put it up. And when he puts things up, I tend to watch. Now, he's obviously explaining stuff. And it's quite concerning to me also because, right, so he says you've got a 40-odd, year-old woman with a 70-year-old man, which is obviously about a 30-ish year age gap. I myself, just me, do not have a problem with age gaps. I never would, and I never will. I don't have no problem with age gaps. But they have then produced 8 children. And eventually one day, we're all going to not be here. You know, you get older, you're not going to be here. Now, that doesn't mean that the 70-year-old could have gone first. It could have been her. Because you don't know what's round that corner waiting for you, and Green Reaper, etc. I always see it as, well, Dave's slightly older than me. That don't mean he's going first. I could. And it's just that simple, really. But, so, yes, she started doing this vlog, and I don't know if she went in the kitchen or wherever, because I've never watched them, like I say. And I think it was 12 hours after Eugene, I think he was called, had passed. She did explain they had no family and friends, fair enough, and she wanted to use it as an outlet to speak. Okay, some people, obviously, we all grieve in different ways, and we do, and if that's the way we can think of it, then okay. But I found it very unusual that she had two babies. Well, I think the babies, the whatever age were, when she was doing this vlog at 11 o'clock at night, I think it was, and everyone else was sleeping, that them two babies were still awake. Now, me, if I were going to do something like that and I had younger children, etc., would have settled the two younger ones into bed or cots, whatever they're sleeping, settled them, and then proceeded, to say what she wanted to say, rather than having them two there. That's my opinion only. That's what I would have done. And then obviously she's going on about money situation and stuff, and his life insurance had ended, and things like that. We already have things in place. We've had things in place for quite some time now. If anything was to happen to me, or Dave, or both of us together in one go, we have things set in place with money to make sure Zane, aka Try Again, is going to be okay. And we also have a person who is on the will also, who will be the sole carer of him then, if any of this is making sense. So in other words, we've already thought about it, planned it out, etc., and because of Zane being autistic and stuff, even though he's smart, etc., we don't think he'd manage on his own, bless his soul. So that's all been put in place, and it's all been agreed to, it's all been signed to. And if something were to happen to the other person, there is another person in place, if this is all making sense. So going back to that again, I don't understand why nothing was set in place when, yes, he was 30 odd years older and she's younger. Now, they both should have had something there for if either of them went. Now, I can understand that if the woman had went, the 70-year-old Eugene, I think he's called, would have had a lot of problems. There's 8 children. I've only seen, I think I've only heard 2 of them. He wouldn't have been able to cope. He would not have been able to cope with what she's saying and going on about him. Then I'm going to just skip, because I don't want this to make this too long, and it's just like I've appeared out of nowhere. Because I have got a few others to pull up. And like I say, I can't edit or anything. It's... Obviously she's grieving. She's grieving. And with grief, you've got anger, you've got emotions, you're going to be all over the shop, you're going to be crying, then you're going to be laughing, then you're going to be blaming yourself or blaming others and all that stuff that comes with grief, until you move forward, and it eventually, it's still going to stay with you, but you've got to move on, even though it's still going to be there with you. Amy's still with me, you know, and she's 23 next year, or would be 23 next year. Do I forget about her? No. But, you know, and I grieved a long, long time, and no one can give a grieving process. It's the own individual person who has to grieve, and if they have to take 8 years, so be it. My next concern then was, I think she was in a bedroom or somewhere, it were different from before, and yet again, these two young ones are still running around and everything, and not in bed. And I think one of them, she looked down at one, and I think she went, "Hi." Now, she was too busy talking to the camera, or whatever she uses. Excuse me, sorry. Whatever she uses, she was too busy talking to pay attention to the two young ones. Like I said again, even though I know she's grieving, they should be in bed and fast asleep or whatever while she is recording, instead of running around and her keep looking and going, "Oh, it's just the two young ones," and then focusing back on camera. I find that very, I've got a thing in my words and I've got to be careful, very, very unusual as to how long she's letting these two young ones stay up for. The raccoon did say he did think it would be about 2 a.m. Why aren't they in bed? Why aren't they sleeping? And why are they blooming running round? And then it comes to, like, she's only told her two oldest, right? Her two oldest. Now, and she's told the others that Daddy is in hospital, and she hasn't told them. They think they're, you know, and he's coming home. No, I'm sorry. No. From a certain age, somebody from a certain age, kids will pick up that something is wrong. If I said that to him, he'd know. Because he'd want to go visit. And then it'd be like, now what do I do? So, to me, it'd be easier to sitting down and explain, and then say, well, you do know what that means, don't you? And he would do. He would do. He's not thingy, he's really smart. So he would understand what that meant, but I wouldn't go like, "Oh, your dad there," and all that lot. He would understand, but I would sit him down and take a better approach and soft approach, because he would be the one to ask if he can go visit him or me. And none of them have asked. That's the thing. None of them have asked. So I'm a bit fuzzled there as to why none of them have asked to go see their father. Now, obviously, it's a different state. I don't know what the laws are over there. But surely, you know, some of them can, but they didn't. Oh, my God. Now, this is what I can't wrap my head around, and I don't think Raccoon could either. Now, she was contradicting herself, and then she was going back on herself, back again, and I'm like, well, which was it? So, eventually, I figured out. And like I say, she was going back, and then she was going, and I'm like, Okay, you're in shock, I get it, but you've got to have known. So she did say, bearing in mind all these kids were at home, and her, and Eugene must have been on these medications, what knock him out and stuff, right? She had seen him on the floor and not bothered to go to him, to check on him. Now, she's mentioned a few times she had been to check on him and she had done this, and then she's like, he was on the floor and I didn't go check on him because I know what his meds would do and hit him like. Well, I'm sorry, and I am sorry, but if you're on that floor and you're passed out, and if someone sees you on that floor passed out, you immediately dial, is it 911 over there? I'm going to go with 911, I know it's 999 this way, 911, and seek immediate attention, because it don't mean that he's just passed out because of his drugs. He was a 70-year-old man. He obviously had underlying problems, which I don't know about. But you don't just think, I'll let him sleep it off. I was being gobsmacked when I heard that bit. So eventually she did go, and she said he had his head a certain way, and she saw, and then she said she already knew he had, but she did go over and check for a pulse, etc. Then started, as I would call it, CPR compressions, which I think everybody knows what that is anyway. You know, your CPR compressions and you count and then you breathe and all that stuff. Bearing in mind as well, she never mentioned whether she had checked and opened his mouth to see if there was still vomit in there. Because if there's vomit in there, try and get it out, scoop it out with your fingers, or have a sucker to try and get it out. She never said if his jaws were clenched shut. Now, if the jaws are clenched shut, it's going to be nigh on hardly impossible to get them open, to get a sucker and try and, thingy it out. And it was face sideways, so that'd have been easier, and to roll him on his side and see. But then she did say she had realised it, and that's why she started the CPR. I think she called it something else. And phoned the ambulance. The ambulance came really quick. They worked on him for so long in the house, then took him to the hospital and worked another 3 hours. There were faint pulses coming back when he'd been shocked. And I presume the faint pulses then would send him back into arrest. And I do think there were more pulses when they'd shocked again. They'd find another pulse, etc. Not a strong one. Not a strong one, a weak one. Now, people with weak pulses at 70 can still survive, by the way. But you're going into 3 hours now at the hospital that the Eugene had been, whatever and what have you. And if you've only got a weak pulse, it's not going to be circulating around everywhere and to get to the brain, which then leads to brain itch. And then I could not believe, that she had told a doctor she would have rather him be that way, to fetch him home, to be with her, to talk to him and hold his hand. Why? Why? I just don't get why. Does she know what that would have involved? Does she know he wouldn't have known who she was? He wouldn't have known who the kids was? And there is a word for it, and I'm not using the word because it's derogatory, and I don't like that word. He wouldn't have known anything, and he probably would have been suffering. So why did she not just think, it's done with, it's done with? Why did she go down that route, thinking that? Because that to me just rang alarm bells. Because I wouldn't want to do that, if I wouldn't want to, after 3 hours, knowing there's not been enough oxygen getting to the brain, do that to any of mine, or David, because do I see it, my opinion yet again, do I see it as a cruel thing to do? Yes, I do, but like I said, that's my opinion, and everybody else has their own opinions, and you're all welcome to your own opinions, but I would have seen that as just, no, not in the question. Now, obviously I haven't continued watching yet, and as to whether she has told the children yet, because I was only so far into it. I would have rather have stayed away from the camera 12 hours after and sat the children down, from the 16-year-old to the, maybe the 2 youngest ones wouldn't have had a clue what she was saying. They might have done. I don't know. I don't think they'd have had a clue. But certainly from the 16-year-old down, I would have sat them as a family and gathered them all and explained in the best way she could explain that, Daddy's coming home. And if there'd have been questions as why, what's happened, all this, that and other, bearing in mind they was in that house and had seen Dad on the floor. Did the other 2, the eldest 2, why didn't they go and check? And where on earth were they all when he thingied in first place? I'm a bit confuzzled on this. I really am confuzzled. But I want to pick that camera up. I would not have picked it up. Or I'd have just picked it up to announce that he'd passed. And that they'd be back on vlogs whenever. End of. But in my thing, I would have sat them all down, done a family meeting, gathering, whatever you want to call it, gathered everyone around and explained the best to her knowledge that he wasn't coming home, and there may have been questions why, what's happened and stuff like that, and she would have had to then approach that conversation in a not harsh way, in a more thingy way that they would have understood. Would they have been tears? Yes, there would have been tears. Would there be sadness? Yes, there would be sadness and that lot. Now, like I'm saying, I still haven't finished watching the raccoon, and it puts a good thing out there. It puts quite a lot of good things out there, by the way. So I might hashtag him into it. Whether he's not going to like that, I don't know. But I might hashtag him into it because there is a lot out there he does put out. And even he's a bit befuzzled. I'd use that word. I don't think he does. As to why it went this way anyway. But I do know it was something to do with money issues and stuff because she didn't work. So I'm going to continue watching it. As to whether I do an update on that is a different matter. I don't know yet. I think I've only got so far in, and I've still got a way to go because it were over an hour and something that I'd made. And like I say, I cannot remember the family name, and I should have done because I'd only just been watching it. 8. It's not 8 passengers, is it? No, I think that could be another channel. 8 passengers, 8 kids. I don't know, but anyway, I don't know this family. I don't know of this family. Didn't know this family existed. So, on that note, I'm going back over to continue watching Is Put Out There. And I might even get more confused as it goes along, which I'm sure he will, come to think of it. So if you do watch this, thank you very much. I know I'm quite blurry because I'm having to use a different phone at the moment, so I do know and I can see that I am quite a blur. That doesn't sound good, does it? A blur. But I can see. And if you do watch it, which I haven't been around for a while, please give a thumbs up if you think okay, give a thumbs down. I don't bother checking. Do leave comments if you wish. The comments, I think, have always been open. I don't know how to, what is it? Is it disable comments and stuff? He would, saying, aka Troy, he certainly knows. I didn't even know you could put a community post out there without so many subscribers until he told me. I'm like, thanks, son. You're a smart one, aren't you? So, on that note, sweeties, it's now 11 and we do have a busy day tomorrow, which is Saturday the 28th of October. We do have a busy day, and I'm just fingers crossed that I can walk some of it without having to rest. And I might go into that, but it's not to do with my breathing, nothing to do with my breathing, so don't panic about that. It's my leg, and I've just had to go for the test and stuff, so. And I've gone off on a different blooming subject there, haven't I, altogether, so. And it was supposed to be out about that. So, lovelies, take good care of yourself. Always remember there's somebody out there who needs you. Whether you know them or not, there's always somebody who's going to need help or just an ear to listen and rant and stuff. And with the times these days and what everyone's going through, and even we're going through it, just try and listen. And if you can help somebody, listen to them. If it's too much, don't, because I found I've listened way too much in the last few weeks, and it's sort of pulled me back a bit, and I don't want to go back there. But take care of yourselves. Thank you for listening, and if you would like to comment, please do. And I think I'm going to hashtag the person and hope I'm not going to get in trouble from that person. So take care, lovelies. Look after each other. Stay safe and try and stay warm. Good night.